Morning everyone, Ado here. Happy New Year to you all. It's been a week or two since I've been on. I'm part of the Homeless Services Management team at Crosscare. I'm a member of the Social Care Workers Board at Carew. I'm a member of the Consultative Forum for Former Residents of Mother and Baby Homes and Allied Institutions. I was just looking through some of the social care online media pages there over the last couple of days, and one of the things that struck me was a piece put up by a young girl. I think her name was Aisling, and she's sorting herself out for her final year dissertation, and she's put up a questionnaire proposing to look at violence in the workplace. And questions around that and around, supports, reflective practice and supervision and, what those supports might look like. Now, I think she's specifically doing it in the field of ID. But in my experience, in the length of time that I'm working in social care, I've experienced violence in the workplace in several settings. I've never worked in ID, but I have experienced violence in several settings. Some quite extreme when I worked in child detention services many years ago, back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And the first thing that I'd like to say, as a former frontline social care worker and now social care manager, is violence in the workplace is never okay, and it shouldn't be something that we normalise at all. It can be, or it certainly is, something that we will see when we work with very vulnerable people. A lot of the people that we work with have had traumatic lifestyles, and sometimes their coping mechanisms, their understanding, their intellectual ability doesn't allow them to be able to control themselves, and they may hit out and strike out, but that doesn't mean that we should normalise it. So if you're working in a social care setting and there is violence in your workplace, you should be analysing that on a regular basis as a team with your manager or your PIC. You should also have very defined supports in place. So if violence is perpetrated against you on the floor, what happens in the immediate aftermath of that? This is the quality of support that you really should be looking for. What happens in the immediate aftermath? Do you have a team trained to come in and support you? Is there an employee assistance program available? Is there peer support within your organisation? How do the management deal with it? Is the act of violence against you just a paper exercise whereby they have to cover their ass, or do they come in and genuinely try to support you through that assault and act of violence against you? Is there an mediative component to the act of violence? If you're working with people whose comprehension is good, who have really good and strong understandings, if you're working in children's residential or something, then we try and mediate? Do we try and use one of the mediation techniques to sort of rebuild that relationship, and for young people or anyone to understand their part in it, like using one of the restorative justice models? Is that available in your organisation? If you need time off, is that immediately available? Is that a big hassle for the organisation? These all need to be looked at. In a modern, caring social care organisation, violence is never accepted and should always be looked after.